Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our fourth session. I think since we are starting, we can open our cameras just so that we see who is here and we greet each other. Kindly switch on your videos so that we can see you. How are you guys?
Oh, we are very well. We are very well. So.
I'm fine, and you?
Thank you, guys. I'm fine. Okay. I'm sure we can now switch off our videos and let's not forget to mute ourselves as well as to keep our videos off. Unless if you are speaking, please just be mindful, just constantly check if you are muted. And if your video is okay. Thank you very much. So for today, we are going to have an interesting session today. I'm not going to spoil everything. I will let Claire, our projects coordinator, to lead the session that is upcoming. Thank you, guys. Claire, I leave everything to you now.
Sandra, you didn't give me any warning that you're going to be asking me.
Okay, no, it's fine, Clay. I can go ahead with the okay, that's fine. Okay, just like what we did last time, I like to pick people just to check if you remember what we learned last week. So Luke Jacobs, can you please tell us what you remember from the previous sessions? After Luke Jacobs, I will ask Poncho to go next. So Luke, can we hear from you? Whatever you remember from the previous session, can we hear what you still remember?
Yes, good morning, Sandra. I'm a bit surprised. I'm a bit shocked that you asked me first. Usually you ask me a bit later, but it's okay. Well, I can remember. Well, I can remember the hazards that we had to identify. So the hazards is really environment specific, and like climate change is a broad subject, but there's like specific hazards in your area. So the hazards that I remember was the droughts and the floods. And also what I remember is the vulnerability. So there are people who are more exposed and vulnerable to the hazards. So in my instance, it was people who were living in informal settlements. They were the ones who were more exposed and vulnerable to these hazards. So for someone in a better household or house, it's not that bad, but for someone who's really out in nature, it's really, really bad. So yeah, that's what I remember. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Luke, you are a very good student. I can see you are listening. Poncho, over to you. After Poncho, we'll hear from you and Siwe. Poncho, can we hear from you? Okay. Poncho is not, I think, Poncho, you're unmuted. You can go ahead. You can speak. I think the network is failing here. And Siwe, what did you learn last week? Can we hear from you? And finally, we will hear from Nokpumula after Andisiwe. Andisiwe, can we hear from you?
Hello.
Hello.
Last week, we were talking about, we were identifying a hazard around our areas and the vulnerability groups, I think. And also we were I think we were identifying which hazard, the impact that they cause around the natural environment, public infrastructure, population, and livelihood, and buildings. I think that's what
Yes.
I remember. Yeah.
Lovely, guys. I'm happy we are soon becoming experts in climate change. And lastly, it's Nokpumla. You can even speak of what you learned the previous weeks. It's still fine. Nokpumla. Nokupumla, can you please unmute yourself and we hear what you learned so far? What have you learned? The others, you can still, oh, I see people are typing their names in. Let's not confuse that. Okay, Nokpumla, you are refusing to unmute.
Thanks, Sandra.
Okay.
Maybe move on.
Yeah, Mahadi Bolofo, you are the last one. What did you learn last time? Mahadi. There is silence. Okay. All right, we'll do this next time. I was hoping more people would join in. We have quite a number of people who haven't joined, but I'm sure they will join in later. So today, what we are going to do is we are going to be in breakaway groups, and after that, we are going to have a presentation or a lesson that we are going to get from Shannon. She will give more details of herself. Shannon is, she works from a company called Indigo, and she also specializes in climate change issues. So what we are going to do today in the breakaway groups, we are going to learn about project development. Remember, you are going to receive grants. And when you receive grants, you are going to implement a project. So now we want to learn on issues like, so when you are developing a project, what is it that leads to a successful project? What is it that leads to project failure? What is a good leader? We want to learn all those issues. What is good communication when we are talking of a project? So we are going to be discussing these issues in our groups. When you are in your groups, please remember that there should be someone who is writing all the information, and preferably that person can also present, or you can choose someone who will present on behalf of your groups. So as soon as you are in your groups, kindly don't waste time and start working on the question that you have been tasked with. So I would now leave Claire and Numisa to assist us with the groups, and then we'll go into our groups. Claire and Numisa, if you can assist us into getting into our groups now, and then we'll start working in our groups.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. I think what I may do before opening the groups is to go through the Google Doc just to see what all of the questions are, so that when people go into the groups, they have already had a chance to see that.
Okay.
So I will share my screen now. And unlike in previous sessions where we had multiple Google Docs, in today's session, we will only have one Google Doc. So everyone will be working on the same sheet. And these are the questions that we have. So currently we have about 30 people in the room. So I think we can go ahead with the 6 questions. They will just be quite small groups, but that's not a problem. And there will also be a facilitator in each group. So that will be as per usual when we have had breakout groups in the past. We'll be doing it in the same way. So as you can see on the screen in front of you, these are different questions around completing a project, what it goes into teamwork, and how we can anticipate problems before they happen, and how we can recognize what makes something successful. So that is the purpose of this exercise, is to get everybody thinking in advance of your micro grants and core grants, what it is that will help you to be successful. So as you can see from the screen that I'm sharing, group 1 will be discussing conflict and what causes conflict when implementing a project. If you are working in an organization that has lots of different personalities, that could be a reason for conflict. So there are many other sources of conflict that you may have experienced before. So we really want you to reflect on your previous experience and share that with the group. As I noted at the top of the sheet, it says in your breakaway groups, choose someone who will take notes and report back for the group. So that will be very important, because in that way we can all see what you discussed. We can't be present in each group, but at least this way we will be able to get a snippet of what you spoke about. So then moving on to group 2, what factors lead to the successful implementation of a project? So if you can think back on your experience through previous work that you've done, what factors contributed to that project being implemented successfully? And what were some of the things that you learned that you would like to replicate, to do again, so that it could add to the success of your projects for this Rural Action for Climate Resilience project. Number 3, we'll be speaking about the factors that lead a project to fail or suffer major setbacks. So we know that that can happen sometimes, that unexpected things occur. So we just want you to think ahead, what are some of the common ways that projects can encounter challenges. Group 4 will be discussing teamwork and what has been your experience of teamwork. So think back on some projects that you have had experience with before, and what was that like? And specifically, what factors made the team successful and what made it difficult? So you can note those. And number 5, we'll be discussing the qualities of a good leader. So in most projects, you would have somebody leading the project, and you'll be thinking about how to think ahead for what you will be doing. What qualities would you like to see in the leader that you appoint or that takes the lead in this project? So I've said there, think of a great leader that you worked with. What qualities and characteristics made them a good leader? We know that leadership skills can be taught, so we'd like you to think about that. And then finally, group 6, what makes for good communication when implementing a project? So there are actually different types of communication. There's communication that you have within your team. There's communication that you have with us as the grant maker. And there's communication that you have with your community. So there's actually 3 different types of communication there. So we'd like you to think about those. And what can be done when communication breaks down in a team? Again, we know that it happens that sometimes communication doesn't go according to plan. And what are some of the tools that you have that would, tools and techniques, I would say, that would make it possible for you to improve the situation so that you can successfully implement your project. So those are the topics that we will be discussing today. And as I mentioned, there will be a facilitator in each group. But importantly, this facilitator isn't there to tell you what the answers are. The facilitator is there just to make sure everyone understands what the assignment is, and also keeps you on track with time. So we have 5 groups of 5, and I will join group 4. So yeah, all groups have 5 in them. Okay, great. So I will open the groups now, and I'll also go ahead and share this link so that everyone can open it. Some of you may be joining on your cell phone. So I think for those of you that join on your cell phone, you won't be the person that reports back. It will be easier if the person that takes notes and edits this document is on a computer. So that's just one thing we'll add when you choose the person. Okay, so here is the link in the chat box. You can click on it so long, and I'm going to be opening the rooms now. And this, maybe I can give everyone a moment. Maybe you have a question. No questions? Any hands raised? I can't see. Okay, there don't seem to be any questions. And maybe if I could also just say group 1 will be Sandra, group 2 will be Seth, group 3 will be Abigail, group 4 will be Kali, group 5 will be Shannon, will be there, and I'll also pop in, and group 6 will be Lisa. Okay, I'm opening all the groups now.
Morning. Hello. Hi.
Good morning, Abigail.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, hello.
So we are, I think we're group 3, and we've been led with a question. What factors project to fail?
Yes.
I'd just like to note, is there anybody in particular who would like to volunteer to take notes and then to feedback to the plenary when we go back into the main group? Anybody? Or could I choose? Lutando, seeing that you are off mute.
Hello.
Hi, Lutando.
Sorry.
Could you want to, or are you?
Morning, Abigail.
Hi, Lutando. Are you? Hi. So we need someone to feed back into the main group, just to take notes.
Yes.
And then feed back into the main group.
Okay.
So are you? Do you accept?
If I am a missionary, so if no one goes, I will go.
Thank you so much. So the question, anybody wants to take it? Nobody. So Lutando, please, I would ask you to please do that for us. The question that was posed to this group was, you see, what are the reasons that make a project fail?
Okay.
Would anybody like to kick off the discussion?
Hi, Abby, and good morning, colleagues. Hi, can you hear me?
Morning, Mandisa.
Yes. I think one reason would be when the mandate is, or the expectations are not clear, probably from the work plan or the funding proposal that was submitted, and is the agreement between the organization and the funder was not communicated clearly to those that are on the ground and expected to deliver, especially the one coordinating the project. When the expectation is not clear of what to be delivered, that could actually lead to the deliverables not being met, or the expectations rather.
Okay.
And secondly, I think when people are not trained enough or well informed of
Mandisa,
yes.
just a bit. I'm taking notes. So,
Oh, sorry.
If you could give me time to write, because I'm trying to write.
Sure.
But I don't want us to waste time. So perhaps if
let me be brief, Nick. Let me be summarized. Yeah, the first one is when the expectations or the mandate or the goal of the project was not clearly communicated to the implementers.
Sure.
Secondly, when the people that are supposed to deliver the project are not trained.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have skills to deliver the project.
Wonderful.
So there's three reasons that Mandisa has noted: unrealistic expectations, unclear goals and objectives, and then lack of resource planning. Is there anybody that'd like to add to what Mandisa had said? Thank you so much, Mandisa.
All right, can I add something?
Okay, yes, Mandisa.
Hello.
I'll come after you.
Oh, sorry, somebody had raised their voice.
Okay.
Is there anybody who I heard a voice?
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Mahadi.
Mahadi, yes.
One other thing that needed to be done there is inspiration. People, they needed to be inspired, motivated, so that they should be aware of what they are getting in and how it's going to be managed and take forward. Thanks a lot.
So, okay, thank you, Mahadi. When people lack motivation, I think I've noted that. I wanted to comment on human relations, Abigail, that sometimes when you have one person who wants to be dominant in the group that is implementing the program, it becomes a huge problem when there's a clash of personalities. And when one person doesn't want to relinquish power, you want to be heard all the time. Yeah.
Is this also, this could also be in reference to a communication gap within a group as well. Thanks, Lintando. Is there anybody else that would like to add to what the group has been saying that has been noted? Lungiswa, you've been quiet. Is there anything that you'd like to add? Lungiswa? Lungiswa is not with us.
Can I add something, Abby?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, because I think this issue of people dominating could also be caused by lack of proper leadership and coordination. That also could actually affect everything that other speakers have said if there is no leadership in the project and governance, proper governance.
Thanks, Mandisa.
Anybody else would like to add? Mahadi? We're doing so well. Yay.
Can I add something if there's no one to speak?
No, go
Yes,
ahead,
Vanessa.
go ahead.
Excuse me.
No.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Afternoon.
We
I
saw
am
your-
around. I'm here, but I was just listening to Rev.
Yes.
I want to share the thing is what causes domination to other people. Like other people have mentioned all these things, improper coordination sometimes. So other people would not know about what is going to be dealt with. Secondly, advocacy that is not enough to people. It makes other people to be lesser informed than the others. And also leadership skills that are not there. It makes others to be not in the same level with others. So that is my take on the matter. So the reason I was quiet is only because that most of the things that I wanted to say have been said by other people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lungiswa. Thank you, Sis Lungiswa.
Okay.
Sis Mandisa,
Yes, thank you.
you wanted to say something.
Yes, I also thought monitoring and evaluation is very key.
Okay.
Monitoring the program side and financial monitoring so that we don't underspend or overspend, because we may, I think monitoring and evaluation, so that I don't say much that you can't capture what I'm saying, but monitoring and evaluation is very important so that we know that we're on the right track as per what we promised the funder to do. And also we don't overspend to the extent of lacking funds to complete the project, as we promised the funder that with the 5,000 that you've given us, you're going to do this much. And at the end of the day, because we don't do continuous monitoring and evaluation, and then we lose funds in the process and we don't achieve the deliverables.
Okay. Well, that's perfect, Melissa. Thank you.
Yeah, this is okay.
How, Abigail, how much time were we given as a group?
Is it 10 minutes?
Is it 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think it's 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how much time are we left with now? Because after everyone has made their contribution, I would just like to go through what we have put down as a group.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Just
Sorry, I was on mute and I was having a fat chat with myself. I'm just checking with the.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lintando.
No. Abigail, I was just asking about the time allocated for each group. How much time do we have?
I asked Claire. I'm just waiting for a response, but please go ahead in the meantime.
Okay, because after everyone has had a go, then I would love to go through what I have taken, what I've written, so that if I've left anything out, then you can point that out.
Thank you.
I think we can do that, Lutando.
Is it? Okay. So I think I've jotted about 7 points. Point number 1, the first reason is that when the mandate is not clear, the mandate, the expectation, the goals have not been communicated clearly to the implementers of the program. Point number 2, when people lack the necessary skills to perform their duties or to deliver what is expected of them. Number 3, when the group lacks the necessary resources to implement the program or the project. And then number 4, when people are not motivated, or perhaps when people are motivated by other reasons rather than growing the group. And number 5, then it's the interpersonal relations, one person being dominant, someone doesn't want to relinquish power. And then number 6 lack of proper leadership, lack of proper governance, lack of proper coordination. And then number 7, when there is a problem with monitoring and evaluation of the program itself and the finances that are meant to support the program. Have I left anything out?
Well said, Lutando, from my side. Everything is captured.
Thank you, Mandisa.
Question. I'm not sorry for my, did we just have to note that we didn't have to note what are the rebuts to these failures in a project?
What are the?
What are the resolutions to,
I'm
I'm not, sorry, I'm not totally sure.
Was the question expecting us to do that, Abby?
No, I don't think so. I'm just pondering.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm just making up my own question. Sorry.
All right, I think because we don't have time, I think my advice would be, Lutando, as we are listing all these negative impacts, then you do the opposite. Should this happen, this what should be happening? I'm not sure if I'm clear because we're only left with 1 minute now.
Yes, no, don't worry. We're also there to assist you.
Yeah.
Yes,
If that's an expectation, yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Lintanda. Thanks, Mandisa. Mahadi, thank you so much. I think we'll be going back soon. So, Lintanda, if you do get stuck, you can just call on any of us.
No problem, Abigail.
Thank you so much.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mandisa.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. I trust we had fruitful discussion, very interesting discussions. Now it's time for us to provide feedback on what we have been discussing. Anyone who would want to volunteer to go first?
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Bukeka Kuta.
Sorry, Bukeka, before you go, I see Mumisa, your hand is up.
Okay.
Never mind, it's fine. We were going to present, but it's fine.
Oh, okay. Hey, would you be able to share the screen with us so that we can see the responses?
Yes, sure, I can. I also just want to note, I see 2 groups didn't make their notes on the page, but I'm sure they wrote them down separately. So maybe we can capture them after that.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. So Bukeka is from group 1. Can you go ahead, Bukeka?
Okay, thank you, Sandra. Good morning, good people. I'm representing group 1, and in group 1, it is me, Bukeka, Nomboni Sokaya, and Siwe Madika, and Sandra. The question is, what causes conflict when implementing a project? Provide suggestions of how to resolve conflict when it arises. What causes conflict? I'd like to start with poor leadership. because for everything to be progressive, there has to be a leader, there has to be a driver. So I take poor leadership as a high priority that causes a conflict. Okay. There would be lack of clarification of roles and responsibilities among members that can cause conflict when they are just starting to implement a project. And also, if other members' opinions are not valued, definitely there cannot be a good working teamwork amongst the members. Poor communication as well, you know, if there's no direction and there's no clarity of what is what is happening, and people are doing whatsoever thing that is right, and that results from poor communication, definitely there's a problem. Different opinions that always come up because of lack of solid decision-making do cause conflicts. When there is no clarity of really what are we doing together, which is the misunderstanding of objectives of the very project, there will be conflict. Where there's an interference of, you know, political involvement and other stakeholders, even if they are not political parties, there would definitely be a conflict within the implementation of that project. Now, coming to resolving those conflicts, we believe that, you know, whenever they are identified, I also start with the last one, there should be a mediator that is asked to assist, someone who has better project management skills than everybody in the project can assist to resolve conflicts. Secondly, there should be a clarity in those roles and responsibilities. And in a meeting, people should be brought back to what their roles were, and they should be written down on paper. Teamwork is key in project implementation, and everybody should be encouraged to be accountable. There should be meetings to discuss objectives. You know, there should just be regular meetings to discuss everything, to update, you know, to communicate. There should just be regular meetings towards, I mean, at this stage, the implementation stage. In the beginning, there should be understanding, because we are implementing this thing, we are starting this thing, there should be clarity so that everyone understands the project document. Thank you so much. That's all from us.
Thank you so much, Group 1. Well done. So anyone who would want to add to what Group 1 has said before we move to Group 2? And I would like to urge you guys, we will circulate this document, but please take note of the points that are being raised, because if you ignore these things, you are setting your project for failure, because you are going to experience a lot of conflicts which you could have avoided by just implementing what is being said today. So please, let's take each and every point that is being raised here seriously, and we try and avoid making the mistakes when we are implementing our project. Next, I don't see any hand, so I would move to the next group. which is group 2. What, Sanele, can I hear from you?
I think to avoid that conflict, they're supposed to brainstorm their ideas so that they can come up with their good solutions for that conflict.
Okay, so there's need for people to sit down and brainstorm ideas and come up with solutions as well.
With
Thank
the
you.
best solution, yes.
Yes, thank you, Sanele. Okay, now we move on to group 2.
So group 2 was Edmo, Kumbulani, Luke, Seth, and Yamkela. So we noted that your notes aren't there, but I hope that your group will be able to verbally report back for us.
Okay, thank you very much. What we discussed as a group, group 2 was what factors lead to a successful project. We mentioned that there has to be communication and proper communication in terms of what needs to be done, deadlines, and use of proper channels of communication, such as your emailing, your posters, you name it. So it's proper communication is one. And the second one was proper systems. There has to be proper systems in place, such as your policy document, your constitution, and budgets, budget controls. And also we have the third one is management. There has to be a management team which plans what has to be done on a day-to-day basis. Then the fourth one was a research / feasibility and viability study. It's very, very important to do a research before any project is undertaken to see its feasibility. Because once you are assured of its feasibility, then it's most likely to be a success. And then the fifth one is teamwork. Teamwork, that is, each member has to know his or her role and also be prepared to work in a group. Each member should be prepared to, he should be able to know his roles and responsibility and also have a zeal to work in a group. And then the sixth one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, the sixth one is skilling. The members needs to be skilled through training so that we have the right people with the right skills for the job, for what has to be done. Because most of the many time we have people in places or in positions where they don't have, whereby they don't have the right skills, so that project will never be a success. So training is very important. And also the fifth one is about monitoring and evaluation, M&E, in terms of checking milestones and also doing a review of how the project has been happening and where we need to change or to improve. So it's also very important to constantly having these monitoring and evaluation sessions so that you can check progress. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. There are some factors which are still coming. We identified them when we were talking of what causes conflict, the issue of teamwork, the issue of good leadership, and the issue of communication. So this, we can see that these issues, if they are in place, they can also lead to the successful implementation of projects. And I think we'll go to the next question, then we'll. Okay.
I think
colleagues,
maybe, yeah.
okay, can you kindly remember to mute yourselves? You just constantly check. Sometimes you unmute yourself not knowingly. So just please make sure your microphone is muted. Okay. So now can we go to group 3?
Good morning, Sandra, and the colleagues, Lutando from Group 3. In Group 3, we had Abigail as the facilitator of the group, and we had the following group members: Mahadi, Mandisa, Lungiswa, and myself. We pointed out about 7 points or 7 factors that lead to a project failure. Number 1, it's when the mandate, the goals, and the expectations are not clear. Or even when the mandate, the goals, and the expectations are clear, if those expectations, goals, and mandate have not been clearly communicated by the coordinator to the implementers of the program. So if it's only the coordinator who knows about them and the people on the ground are not aware of them, that can lead to failure. Number 2, I think it has been mentioned by Group 2, it's when people do not have the necessary skills. People are not able to perform the functions that they are meant to perform because they have not been empowered or capacitated. And then the third one is the lack of resources. I mean, if there are no financial resources, physical resources, or human resources, then the program will definitely fail. And then the fourth point is when people are not motivated. Or to put it differently, when people are motivated by reasons other than those of ensuring that the program is a success. Because sometimes we join groups for different reasons, for different motives. And then number 5 is about interpersonal relations. When you have one person in the group who is a kind of a dominant figure, who is not prepared to listen to others and take advice from other people. When people do not want to relinquish power, you hold on to power to such an extent that others mean nothing to you in the group. And then number 6, when there's lack of proper leadership, when there's lack of governance, proper governance, when there is lack of proper coordination, lack of proper leadership, lack of proper governance, and lack of proper coordination. And the last one has also been mentioned by the previous group, which is when there is no monitoring and evaluation, because there's a need for the group to constantly evaluate and monitor the program itself, the core business of the group, and the finances that the group has. So those for us are the reasons why projects fail. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you very much. I would just like to add a little bit. So I think in terms of skills as well, that's why we have been urging everyone to participate, even on our WhatsApp groups as well as on these sessions, so that we are trying to impart knowledge on climate change issues so that we are all aware on what we are dealing with. And we have also done a training in terms of vulnerability assessment so that we understand what is it that we want to address as a group. And financial and human resources. So as you are drafting your proposal, please make sure that you are, whatever that you are drafting, it's within, and what you will be doing, it's within your budget, and you have the people who are going to do the work. If you are going to apply for 80,000 or whatever amount that you are applying for, and you don't have people, you are just putting names that you are just thumb sucking. When you are actually now implementing the project, then you will have problems. And also, I'm seeing this issue of lack of motivation. It contributes a lot. People become excited now, and when the money comes, people now don't want to work. Thanks so much to group 3. Any inputs that you'd want, please put them in the chat box, or you can raise your hand so that you can also give your inputs. Then we move on to group 4.
So Noluthando Festile will report back for group 4.
Thank you.
Okay, good day, everyone. Coming from group 4, it was Nosimi Lofilita, Noluthando Gwelani, Claudine, and also Noluthando Festile. So what makes the project successful? We said that sharing of duties and responsibilities so that a person knows what is expected from her or him, team members to understand their roles in the team, commitment from all the group members, everybody share the same goal and purpose. The difficulties within a team, it's a conflict within team, lack of common purpose, lack of commitment from the group members, no sharing of duties. 1 or 2 team members do everything without giving others what to do. Then how to resolve those things? We say that conflict can be avoided if everyone understands their role and responsibilities, ensure that all team members are committed. If not, they should not be part of the team because they're not going to make our project successful. Training of members about their roles and responsibilities, like doing some team building activities and games and simulation. Draw on experiences and how it was resolved in the past. We refer to the project that we did in our organizations, and also everybody understands the purpose and the goal of the project, that understanding the objectives of the project. Thank you. I think my group members will add because I was experiencing some difficulties with the network.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, group 4. We see the things constantly coming out. So be worried just when you are choosing your leaders as well, because if you choose someone who is going to be so dominant that your opinions are not heard, then it will lead to conflicts and failure of projects as well. So I'm hoping we are taking note on things that we should avoid or on things that we should take on board. I see Oluetu has joined us. Welcome, Oluetu. We go to group 5. Can we hear the reporter from group 5?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
From group 5, we had the leaders must not be autocratical. They must involve other people. And also a good leader must support back to the community. They must have patience and be a good listener. A good leader must observe and be able to reach a conclusion. A good leader should have emotional awareness and they should be able to remove any barriers for the team. A good leader consult before they take decisions. The leader must be able to monitor and must be available to the team. The leader should be democratic. The leader should be trustworthy and who makes team feel their concerns can be heard. A good leader should have rules and regulations set out for their team so everyone knows what is expected to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Guys, we are learning. I wasn't even expecting this. I also learned quite a lot. The issue of having patience and being a good listener, issue of consulting others. Some they think if you are being the leader, you just, whatever that you decide is what should be implemented. Thank you so much, Group 5. We move on to Group 6.
Hi, Sandra. I didn't get a response for written. Yeah, I'm going to present on behalf of Group 6. Excuse me, everyone, if you can't hear me, I'm a little under the weather. So our question was around communication when implementing a project and what can be done. You'll notice that there's a synergy to all of the questions. Hence, there'll be a synergy also around responses. So one of the things that we spoke about in the group was rules of conduct. So before everything else, we should have, a project should have rules of conduct. How do we speak to each other? When do we speak to each other? Expectations of responding to emails. If I send you an email now, you need to respond in 2 hours or in 3 hours. So rules of conduct basically around communication. So that's point number 1. Number 2 is cooperation and respecting everyone's time and roles. As much as you have rules of conduct, we also need to be aware that some of our roles within the project will affect other people's roles. So if you do know that your role for someone else's job to be done, they need to get something from you. You need to respect that. And you also need to respect the time frame they put in for that. And we spoke about teamwork, that we all need to work together, inclusion and encouragement. So there shouldn't be separate teams. The whole team with working in a project should be speaking in one voice. So everyone must all attend meetings. So you shouldn't have separate meetings that are going to affect the project's whole implementation process and other things. So if Sandra and I decide to have a side meeting, we shouldn't take decisions on what's going to affect the whole project. We should always remember our objectives. That's why we wrote clear objectives and goals of the project. So when we're communicating, we need to remember those and being aware of your responsibility, which also speaks to point 2, which is respecting everyone's time and roles. That you should be aware of what you need to do, and when it's due. And of the question was, what can be done when communication breaks down in a team? We said you need to find the root cause of the problem, remind each other of the code of conduct. But if all fails, you need to get a third party to intervene. Tato mentioned that if it's a faith leader's project, that maybe you should get a priest to come and intervene, but the person should be neutral. So the person shouldn't have any sort of relationship with the project or with the people in the project, so that they're able to assess the situation and not the people. Number 2, alternative conflict resolutions. I think it was in the TUSO advice office that as part of your project package, you should not only have rules of conduct, but you should have resolutions that should you have any conflicts, they are there to help you resolve those conflicts. If not, check previous conflict resolutions for reference. What happened when there was a conflict before and how was it resolved? So you can get guidance from there. We also need to keep minutes for reference. So every meeting you have, you must always keep minutes so that it's not a word of mouth thing. It's all written down. And we also had one suggestion on how to avoid communication breakdown. We said that the team needs to have weekly check-ins, especially in the stage of implementing, so that we don't wait 3 months into our quarterly meeting for issues to be addressed, because at that point, it would have brewed maybe to a point of no return. So in that stage of the project, we should have regular check-ins so that should anything be wrong, we're able to resolve it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. We all know that communication is very important in our day-to-day lives. Poor communication has led to many divorces, the wars that we see today. It's all because of lack communication. So it is a very critical aspect when implementing a project that there are good communication channels that are established within the project. Thank you so much to everyone for all your contributions. Do we have anyone who has a burning suggestion that would want to give before we go next? We are just a little bit over time, 5 minutes.
Yes, Sandra.
Yes, Tato.
Yeah, something that came up in my mind that as a group in the project, one should manage to check that may not dominate in terms of communication. Must give other people to participate and suggest and play their role, because once you dominate, they will take you as we are a boss now. Everything that must be communicated. We'll just keep saying, what are you saying, sir? What is, because now we are dominating. So we should be very, very careful in terms of dominating, because we'll be turning to be a boss of the project. Thank you.
Yes, that's true. And some will say, Numisa is the one always doing this, so let her being and let her do everything. Then you'll be overwhelmed and you won't be able to do everything by yourself. So we should be careful with that. Lutando, can we hear from you?
Yes, and I'm just sorry I'm coming after my colleague. We work for the same judge, Tato. We're not trying to dominate. Sandra, the other thing that I was thinking of is perhaps paying attention to the needs of different individuals in the group. Because when people's needs are not met, then you will have a problem in the group. So there's a need for us to look at the needs of the group and the needs of each individual within the group without compromising the objectives of the group.
Oh, yes, yes. I'm glad, I'm sure Claire is very happy that this project, I'm not anticipating any conflicts, poor communication and all that, because we are all aware. You gave these responses. It was not from us, but it was actually from you. And I've also learned a lot from you guys. Thank you so much. I would want us to move on to the next step. On the agenda. As I have initially said, we do have Shannon Brandt. She is from Indigo. I would now want to hand over to Shannon. Shannon, welcome. Thank you for joining us. The floor is now yours.
Thank you, Sandra. If you just allow me some time to share my screen.
Okay.
I would just like to put a little disclaimer. Some of you might have seen this presentation before. It is actually a presentation that was put together by Noel Utley, who's formerly worked for the Environmental Monitoring Group. They're based in Cape Town. Some of the slides in here will be from myself. So as you can see, I'll be presenting it. I would also like to say that if there are any of the questions, because we are working on different projects, me and Noel, I would like to, if there's any questions that I can't answer here today, I would like to just suggest that or propose that I would rather send it to Sandra or Claire via email, so that you can also have some resources to reference. So I'll be sharing a case study of a community that we've been working in for the last couple of years, about 23 years now. It is called the Zuid-Bokkenveld community, and we're based in the Northern Cape. If you see the little map here, we are just after the border of the Western Cape, and we are situated in the Namakwa region. So I will be sharing with you a short timeline of the State Bokkerveld community and the key dates in the development of this community that lies on the margins of the fynbos biome in the arid Northern Cape Province. So back in 1998, the Environmental Monitoring Group was asked to provide a development facilitation. And then in 1999, a participatory planning workshop took place in the State Bokkerveld community. And at that workshop, it was decided then to use participatory action research as a core methodology, and that was adopted in 1999. After that workshop in 2000, exchange visits to other producers and exporters took place. In the next year, the AVELD Cooperative was founded. In 2002, AVELD initiates Sustainable Land Management Plan. And then in 2003, participatory research on wild rooibos was initiated. There's also a little booklet on that. And then in 2003 to 2006, when I was still in school, a severe drought causes 100% loss of rooibos and also market share loss. In 2004, quarterly climate change adaptation workshops were initiated. And then in 2004, again, AVELD obtained its own organic and fair trade certification, and a range of research projects were initiated after that. So from 2007 to 2010, production outstrips demand. So a lot of demand, but very little rooibos. So reserves are built up, markets expand with new trading partners. And then in 2004 to 2015, a range of learning-oriented adaptation initiatives are implemented by the co-op and also partners like Indigo and EMG. And then in 2014, AVELD exports rooibos with 4.5 million rand and pays the highest price in the industry. 2015 to 2020, another drought sets in once more. And then 2016 to 2018, an adaptation fund project enables the AVELD to secure water supply to the tea cord and explore new approaches to producing rooibos under changing climatic conditions. So in 2017, the Three Fountains Trust, which is a trust that is born out of the AVELD Cooperative, purchases Bloemfontein in this AVELD.
Oh, sorry, Shannon, the connection is breaking up a little bit. Maybe if you cancel your video, I'm not sure if that perhaps may give it a stronger chance.
And in 2017,
Maybe just repeat the last few sentences. Unfortunately, your connection broke, so we couldn't hear you.
I saw it this year.
Sorry, can you try one more time? Shannon, are you still there?
I think we have lost her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I think she will rejoin. Maybe we just give her a moment.
Okay.
She's left the call, but she'll rejoin, I'm guessing.
Oh, okay. Whilst we wait for her, we give her maybe 5 minutes to join. If not, then we proceed. So for now, let's just go back to discuss the topics that we have been discussing today, and things that you might need clarity on the project as well. So we can have a discussion. You can raise your hand and then you can speak. We hear from you. There are people who have been very quiet since we started. Okay, we do have Edmo. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask on the issue of paying attention to each individual's feelings in a group. I have a bit of a problem with that because as a leader, you might end up nursing people's feelings instead of now focusing on what has to be done. I don't know what others feel.
So Edmo is saying that if we consider everyone what they are saying, we might end up having chaos within the project. What do others think?
Hi, Sandra. I don't want to start a debate, but I think what's important for a leader is to have emotional intelligence and understanding who is working with. I think a leader must know exactly how to get the best out of each individual. Some people might be a bit needy, and you deal with many personalities. So leadership is basically just managing that very well and understanding who's who in the zoo and getting the best out of the people, and also knowing what they are good at. So for example, if I know Clay is not good at finances, then I won't have her dealing with budgets. I will have it doing something else. So yeah, that is just my personal opinion. It's to have great emotional intelligence and having good relationships and understanding who's who.
Okay. I do also think that it doesn't mean everyone's suggestion should be taken on board, but at least try to consider what I have said. Some people, they don't even take note or listen to what someone is saying. They just dismiss it without even taking it into consideration whether it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. So I think that's the issue. Anyone who would want to add or has got a comment on that? Sawonga, I haven't heard from you since we started. Can we hear from you? What do you think on what we were discussing today? Not Sawonga, Mzamo. Sawonga is muted and is not going to unmute.
Hi, Sandra.
Hello.
How are you?
Yes.
Okay. I noted a lot of things, more especially the one that which says that we have to look the objectives of the project that we are supposed to do, so that we may not nurse anyone's feelings to do the project. But if we have the common ground that this is what we are supposed to do, I think that is going to make the project to be successful. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Thank you so much. Anyone with a question? I don't see any questions. Thank you so much, guys. What we wanted to do with Shannon was she was going to present a project. And from that project, we wanted to identify what were the factors that led to the project being successful. And every project, despite it having success story, it also has its failures. What led to those failures? So that's what we wanted to discuss today, so that we learn based on a project that has or is actually operational. As you have seen, it's a project that started long back. So guys, I urge you as well, when you are implementing this project of yours, let it not be a project that will end within a year, but let it be a project that goes on and on and on. we start with little beginnings, and it becomes a huge project that will be read in the papers, in the TVs. People will be learning from what we are doing. I would like us to close because our facilitator is not here. So we would want to close for now. Before we close, I just like this every time we have our meetings. Tate Seth, can you please have a few words for us before we close? I don't like to warn him. I just like to shock him every time. Seth.
I think you don't like me, but that's fine, you know. Yes, it just I mean, for me, I mean, I was in one of the breakaway groups this morning. I think that's group 2, and I'm just amazed at the caliber of participants that we have, and the level of engagement and understanding of what is at stake. And for me, what is even more important, that we have a group of people who really are keen to make a difference in their communities, especially in the area of creating awareness to the negative impact of climate change in their communities, and as well as coming up with programs, either they be mitigating or adaptation projects in their respective communities. So that's exciting for me, because sometimes we design programs and you just don't know how people are going to respond to those programs or projects. But to see this level of enthusiasm and excitement about this project is very, very, very encouraging for me. And I know I speak on behalf of Joanne, who's the sketch director. I know I speak on behalf of Francisca from SAFC and Catherine from 100%, and also the project team that's working on this project, Claire, Numisa, and Sandra. We're working very hard to make this meetings and seminars and workshop reality. So I think the next step now, we're looking for those exciting projects that you guys will be thinking about, and we're looking for those project proposals, you know, that to access the 8,000 rands that's available for the small climate change, either they be adaptation or mitigation projects. We're also looking forward to the macro grant projects, which we'll talk about next week, Thursday, if I remember well. So thank you so much, guys, for being, for participating and really taking a keen interest in this project. And as they normally say, you know, together we can achieve much, and together we can make a difference. So thank you to Sandra, Claire, and Numisa for organizing these events for us. Much appreciated. Thank you. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much, Tate Seth. And colleagues, please remember, there was a problem tree that was circulated to you last week, and that assignment is compulsory and it's now due. May you kindly ensure that you submit your responses on that. I think we have come to the end of our session. In the absence of any questions, I would now want to hand over to Claire, and then we will finish the meeting. Claire, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Sure, it's such a shame that Shannon's connection failed. I know that everybody here has experienced these kinds of network problems, so I know everyone is understanding. But we will see what can be done. Maybe we can organize for her to join on another occasion. But yes, we really apologize for that. And the session up until now we can share. And we will also receive the notes that Shannon is going to be speaking to. So if you'd like to review those and see what you can gain from that, we will be sharing those. And then next, seeing as we have the time, just have a brief impromptu conversation about the micro grants. As you know, the applications for the first round are due by the end of this week. So far, we have received 12 applications. So we encourage you, if you haven't applied already, to submit your micro grant application. And if you have any questions, you can also reach out to myself, Sandra, and we can assist you with those questions before you submit your application. For those who have already submitted an application, we will be contacting you this week to arrange a 20-minute meeting with you. And I'm going to send you a link where you can select the time that you are available. And this will be our opportunity to find out a little bit more about your project. And we may also raise some concerns or elements of your proposal that you can maybe sharpen, improve on. And I think that will really help the microgrant application process. Some of you have been asking us about the core grant. We know you are eager to apply. And what we've said from the beginning is that this October seminar series was to help you in preparation for your core grant writing process. So we hope that you are taking on board all of the information that we've been sharing up until now. And as Seth mentioned, next week, we will be holding a session dedicated to the core grant. So we will share more information about that after this session. So I see that Shannon has rejoined. And Shannon, I'm not sure how stable your connection is. If you feel like it's not stable enough, we can make another arrangement with you.
This is rather embarrassing, to be quite honest. I was not expecting it. It's been coolio up until now, so I'm not sure why that happened.
Do you feel confident to go ahead?
I do. It's
okay.
I'm so sorry, guys. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, Shannon is back with us, and yeah. So if you are able to, then I'll hand back to you.
Okay. I'll just kick off where I left off.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So if you can all see my screen, I'll continue where I left off. So in 2017, the Three Fountains Trust purchased the farm Bloemfontein, which is also in the Zuid-Bokkeveld. They raised 2.4 million via crowdfunding, mainly from Germany or countries in Europe, and then borrowed 1.6 million from the Heiveld cooperative. Then in 2017 to 2021, the Three Fountains invest in restoring production on Bloemfontein. Then in 2017, the rains fail and most farmers lose all their rooibos tea. Then again in 2017 to 2020, the Heiveld provides support to members to re-establish their plantations. Rooibos shortage drives up the prices. Heiveld's trading partners then agreed to pay record prices to aid the recovery of the farmers, and obviously producers benefited from that. Then in 2021, production returns to normal levels, prices are lowered, and sales top 5 million rands. Reserves again built up, and then in August this year, the Three Fountains Trust were able to repay its debt to the Heiveld cooperative. So the rooibos tea plant, as it might be familiar to everyone, with its scientific name as Aspelathus linearis. Linearis is a legume that occurs only in the Cape Floristic Kingdom. Having said that, the rooibos is one of the main incomes for farmers in the Zuid-Bokkeveld community. So apart from having livestock and doing seasonal work, this is their main source of income. So rooibos is an ancient health-giving herbal infusion discovered by the Khoisan people. It's been commercialized for more than 100 years, and 36 hectares of cultivated rooibos is being farmed. So land conversion, as you might think or know or can imagine, is a major biodiversity threat, and it exposes soil to erosion. And over 98% of the crop is being produced by white large-scale farmers. In this picture, you see a small-scale woman farmer from the Zuid-Bokkenveld, which is home to a community of small-scale rooibos tea farmers who live on marginal land in an arid and drought-prone area, with rainfall just over 150 millimeters per annum. The Zuid-Bokkenveld is at the margin of the winter rainfall area, and the winter rains are usually gentle and penetrating. However, we do get quite a lot of thunderstorms, and when they do occur, they can be quite destructive, as you can see in this picture in front of you. So some of the climate change predictions for this area is that we will have higher temperatures in the future. We are somewhat experiencing that already. Projected poleward retreat of rain-bearing mid-latitude cyclones, as they say, with reasonable agreement across the models by the late 21st century. We're already also experiencing a late onset of the rainy season, and then also an earlier end of the rainy seasons. So overall, what they are forecasting or predicting is that we will have a reduction in our overall winter rains, and upon which the local ecology is quite dependent on. So as I said earlier, we use participatory action research as a core methodology, and it can be conceptualized as a spiral of self-reflective cycles of planning and change. I think it quite reflects back to what we've discussed now. Acting and observing the process and consequences of change, reflecting on these processes and consequences, and then replanning, acting and observing, reflecting, and so on. So in all of this, fair trade, some of you might know or be familiar with this as well, has been quite a key component or element in the growth and empowerment of the AFL cooperative. So in a nutshell, fair trade is a trade partnership based on dialogue, transparency, and respect. It aims for more equality in the international trade market. Fair trade stands for sustainable development through better trade conditions and social justice for marginalized groups, especially in countries of the South. And so its core objective are to improve producers' livelihoods, to build the capacity of the organizations, and to put in practice sustainable production in order to drive and strengthen wider changes towards sustainable development. So the relationships within and standards of fair trade promote empowerment and the development of greater agency of farmers and organizations. In this picture, you can see farmers preparing a climate calendar. This is one of the tools that we use at the quarterly climate change preparedness workshops. And in this workshop, as part of this workshop, what we share with farmers is the seasonal weather forecast. And after every 3 months, we come back, we complete this climate calendar where farmers basically write down their observations about the weather, what they did, and how they kind of dealt with the weather events at that time. And then also compare this current climate calendar with the previous seasonal forecast to just see whether it's kind of similar or whether the seasonal forecast was way off or not. So in this picture, you can see farmers mobilizing their traditional knowledge. So to improve the ways that they produce rooibos and conserve soils and biodiversity. In this picture, you can see a farmer and a staff member from the AFL in Italy at an expo. In 2021, as I previously said, the AFL is exporting rooibos to the value of 5 million to countries in the global north. In this picture, you can see what you see in between the lands there is what they call shelter belts of indigenous vegetation. And this is one of the same farmer farmers' lands, just trying to prove that the shelter belts actually work, and the growth of the rooibos tea plant is quite promising with those shelter belts in between. In this picture, you can see another farmer from the Hayveld, and he's soil erosion control. Just below there is also another rooibos tea land that has been eroded before in floods. And here he's just trying to conserve or take measures to conserve his soil and water. Then in this picture, you can see traditional plowing. And then small-scale farmers, I think all over the world, probably small-scale farmers do not have enough access to land, and especially to rest in between rooibos crops. And despite soil and water conservations, farmers believe that their crop or production has been declining. Then there was a study done by Chumpango, Hattas, and Noel Utley in 2015 that proved that scientific research has shown that there has been no reduction in nutrients in the soil. So they wanted to understand what the problem was, and if this was related to microorganisms in the soil. So then the Hayveld Cooperative implemented a small grants project that was funded by the Adaptation Fund for experimenting an action to address the impacts of climate change, as SANB serving as the NIE in South Africa for the Adaptation Fund. The project ran in parallel with the scientific project Ecological Intensification of Rooibos Production that assessed ways of increasing interactions between microorganisms and rooibos to promote production, plant health, and drought resistance. So here you can see two farmers busy with the chipper machine. The Adaptation Fund project, what it did was it increased farmers' knowledge and capacities. It had also included a couple of climate smart production approaches that were tested. So the impact of composting and mulching on soil moisture. Then there was the abundance of beneficial soil microorganisms, growth, productivity, and health of rooibos plants. The material that were used were organic material, such as manure, old chaff, chipped invasive trees and shrubs, and etc. Compost, and then sheep manure. The methods were participatory planning, and those were part of the activities, and shared costs were divided between the farm and the project. So 25% from the farmer and 75% from the project. Then they also had Farmers' Day learning events. They had farmer mentoring, so farmers that would go from farm to farm to see if they're doing what they promise in their management plan. And then scientific research between Switzerland and the University of Stellenbosch. Then also farmer trials were done, and then support to apply successful technologies more widely. So in this picture, you can see a Farmers' Day, and one of the farmers giving feedback. In the next picture, you can see it's an activity on how water filters through organic matter. Another farmer giving feedback. And in this picture, you can see farmers busy at the farmers learning event doing a compost heap. So you saw findings about the symbiosis where rooibos farming was that high plant fitness is linked to effective microbial propagation due to the plant symbiont matching under favorable soil and climatic conditions. Positive plant symbiont feedbacks should be supported, promoting evolution for high symbiotic efficiency. Farming practice should support symbiotic functioning and functional complementarity between rhizobia and AMF. Conditions of low stress for the allobian contribute to low yield variability, but requiring maintenance of soil symbiotic propagules in plantations. High fertility does not necessarily enable higher yields. Just a couple of pictures of the roots, people harvesting, and some rooibos tea lands. And we've just talked about leadership and projects, and as you all know, the map is not always the same as the landscape. So the practical side of this was that the drought prevented people from watering their compost heaps. The rainfall in 2017 was so little that it had penetrated, that little of the rains or the water penetrated the mulch layers in the test plots and fields. The light mulching proved to be most beneficial. Farmers have adopted incorporation of organic material into topsoil. Less wind damage and better production has been a result of that. And as said earlier, too much fertility benefits weeds and does not appear to be beneficial to rooibos. So I was also thinking of just sharing a couple of examples of the participatory processes that we use in the Zuid-Bokkerveld. One of those are the climate preparedness workshops that I referred to earlier, which is facilitated quarterly and it rotates from farm to farm. What is I think unique about the Zuid-Bokkerveld is that people are quite related, they're very related to each other or one another, and so they're all family, whether it's distant family or not. And the farms are quite separated from each other, so with long distances. And at these workshops, people also get a chance to kind of meet and greet and check up on one another. So the focus of this is also to learn or keep track on process and projects and see what's happening in the Zuid-Bokkerveld overall. Then to learn, share experiences of the weather with presented seasonal forecasters, as I mentioned earlier. And it mainly serves as a platform for generating new ideas and reflecting on existing and ongoing processes. And then parallel to workshops for adults, we also have a children's workshop where, I mean, we in Afrikaans, we say, plant die buig die boompie terwyl hy nog jonk is, so plant die saadjie terwyl die grond nog lekker nat is. And I think while they are still very observant, so a lot of these kids are now grown-ups and also farmers themselves. Just a couple of pictures of the adult workshop. And then another one of the kids workshop. And then what we also do is climate monitoring, and this includes daily rainfall. So we have small thermometers and then rain gauges. On the small thermometers, what we do is we measure the weekly temperature. So it gives an average of what the temperatures for that week was. And then rainfall is obviously monitored daily. Then this data is recorded in a climate diary with other observations of the weather. And this information is then also reported back at the climate change preparedness workshops alongside the climate calendars. Just a picture of what the little thermometer looks like. Another tool that we use is water monitoring, and this is it literally stemmed from people wanting to understand what their water sources are like on the farm. And they also wanted to understand what it is that they're drinking. So from that, we tested the water quality, and scientists came, visited the farm and explained what was measured. And then this particular process is then documented through participatory video. So you can see it's a picture of a borehole and a dip meter. And then on the right side, or the right hand side, you can see a farmer holding the testing equipment. And this is just participatory video. So it seems that I've missed a slide there, but participatory video is basically a process where the protagonist or the community decides from the onset of the process what it is that they want to record or put in video. And that process can be quite stimulating and quite empowering. Just also a good tool to use when you do monitoring and evaluation. And especially with the water monitoring, when we first did it, it was said, I think, I don't want to say the exact years because I will probably lie if I say that, but we did it the first time, and then after 5 years, we went back to do another PV process. And at that process, we could actually see what farmers had planned and what we actually realized against the, against the PV videos. So in conclusion, what I would like to share is that adaptation is a lifelong and ongoing process. I think we all know that. People are probably quite adaptable to any circumstance or situation. We believe that strong local institutions can provide the means to support effective adaptation and enable vulnerable people to survive and thrive. And we all need to be learning in an ongoing way about all the complex elements and interactions of the natural world and the human world if we are to keep our heads above the waters of climate change. And with that, I would like to thank you and invite any questions or discussions if there are any. I will now stop sharing my screen. I hope I didn't rush this too much. I was so afraid of the internet connection. So please, you're welcome to ask anything if there are any questions.
Thanks so much, Shannon. Guys, the floor is open. Questions, please. Let's have some questions. It looks like they have
it was clear enough.
Okay, there's Edmore. Edmore, can we hear from you?
Yes, Shannon. I just wanted to find, so I only measuring in this project, I only growing rooibos and no any other crops. Haven't you considered having a crop diversity that would also assist in rebuilding your soil fertility?
Something like this is so the
Shannon, I think
was for 100 years, but
Shannon, we can barely hear what you are saying. I think your network is acting up again. Oh, and she's gone.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, thanks to Shannon. For me, my key lessons were that adaptation, it's a long and ongoing process. So we can't say because we have just implemented a project now, and then we leave it, and then we say we have resolved the problems that we are facing. The projects that we are implementing, they should be ongoing. And also learning and supporting each other as well, very important aspects when implementing a project. I think all the closure remarks had been given, so I'm sure we can now close. I know